Welcome to Basscast Radio, bringing you the best in local and national news in bass fishing, as well as interviews with some of the best anglers from all over the U.S. With your host, Brian Carter and Hank the Bass Geek. Sponsored by Wildware America, Z-Bait Company, Missile Baits, Battleborn Batteries, Conrad Brothers Marine, Taylorman's Custom Lures, Vertical Lures, and Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range.
Guys, we are back with another great episode of Basscast Radio. Man, do we have an awesome show for you all tonight. Guys, by the way, yes, we are missing someone. Bass Geek is not with us tonight. Family, friends, always first right here at the basscast.com and Basscast Radio, by the way. But guys, the show must go on. And tonight, we have Mr. Kyle Jessie with us today. You guys have, if you haven't seen him already, we did an Instagram with him. If you guys are following us on Instagram, you need to head on over and check out one of our Sunday morning conversations. We had an awesome show with him. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think it's still one of our most watched shows. And by the way, if you're following us on Instagram, thank you. 19,000 followers. Holy cow. I mean, never would have thought it would have happened, but all because of you guys, it did. And we are very, very happy about that. And thank you to everyone who is following us. I mean, it's, you know, we enjoy doing it. And we love putting out the content, sharing your photos, and whatever else we do. We do a lot of stuff. So there you guys go on Instagram. There it is right there. You can head on over later on and watch that interview we did with him. I think, yeah, look, check it out. 333 of you guys watched it already. Let's get that to 500. Kyle Jessie on Sunday morning conversations on the basscast.com Instagram account. So thank you for him. And like I said, he is our special guest tonight. And you guys can see by the shirt. There you guys go. It is Bassmaster Classic time. And he's going to talk to us about that, give us some insights, maybe talk a little fantasy fishing to help you guys make your picks. But hey, Ray Roberts, Bassmaster Classic, tonight, right here on Basscast Radio. So what's been going on right here at the basscast.com? Been putting out a lot of podcasts for you guys. Backstage Fishing, we had a podcast last week. Last week was Memorial Day weekend. And we had an awesome weekend hanging out. And this weekend is quiet. We got a couple tournaments going on, just some club events. Leesville Lake Bassmasters, come on out and fish with them. But another great weekend. And I'm either going to go to the lake on Sunday or Saturday. I think we're going to do a little hiking trip. So it's supposed to be nice right here in Central Virginia. Got the family and everything with us. So we're going to be doing some of that. But hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys have all had a great week. And I'm going to stop talking. And we're going to bring on Mr. Kyle Jessie. Hey, guys, before we bring Kyle on, let's talk about our sponsors really, really quick, guys. Angler's Choice Marine, Dick's Sporting Goods, Missile Baits, Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range, Battleborn Batteries, Conrad Brothers Marine, Wildware America, and Lindsay Real Estate down in South Boston, Virginia. You guys can give her a call, 434-572-2645. That's who makes it possible right here to have on special guests like we have tonight, Mr. Kyle Jessie. What is up, brother? There you go. Let's see. Come on in a little bit. Come on in. Come on in.
Closer.
There you go.
I got my laptop set on top of a tackle box, a bunch of tackle boxes actually.
Okay, wait a second. When I send you a photo of mine, I got my laptop set on 3 tackle boxes.
Mine's more or less like a tackle crate. It's a deal I bought from Walmart, and where I lived in Arkansas, I used to have a big pegboard set up, but I don't have a pegboard set up here, so I just threw it all in a big bin. So it's like 3 drawers full of just all sorts of crap.
That is awesome, dude. Yeah, my laptop is sitting on 3 tackle boxes right now. So I mean, it's pretty freaking awesome.
You got to do what you got to do. We have a great resource in tackle boxes, and you got to use them for other things than just fishing, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I think 2 of these are empty, and one of them has some weights in it and some miscellaneous hooks. So
the first thing I got sitting here is a PH Customs crankbait. So that's expensive right there. And then it's actually the laptop itself sitting on a bunch of reel boxes.
Holy cow. All right, let's get this thing going. All right, guys, like I said earlier, if you guys had the opportunity, you are my number 1 watched show on Sunday Morning Conversations, brother. 333 people viewed that. So
very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on. I don't think that I'm that cool, but I'm glad that people tuned in and they watched it for sure, because we've been talking about it for a little while, and
yes,
it was good to catch up with you.
Awesome. Ray Roberts, Bassmaster Classic. We're a week away.
I'm excited. It's a really busy time, as you'd expect. It's hard to keep up with all the content and things that we've got coming in right now. But that's just the beauty of it. Obviously, the Bassmaster Classic always has been and always will be the biggest tournament in bass fishing, and there's a lot that comes with that. But it is no doubt exciting. I just thought about today. I was just sitting around and thinking about the Super 6 and just the final day and everything, and it brings me basically to tears every single time I see it, because it's just so emotional and such a big deal. And like I said, I've just cherished it for my whole life. So for now, and the last few years, to be able to get to be able to be a part of it is really just a dream come true.
All right, so let's start it off with this real quick. For those who don't know who you are and what you do for Bassmaster, tell everybody out there.
So I am Kyle Jessie. I work for Bass. I am a digital editor. So I work mostly via the website, help manage the website, do some producing for the website. I create content as well. I write, I shoot photos. That's what I'll be doing at the Bassmaster Classic. I'll actually be on the water for all 3 days of competition. And then the final day, of course, I'll come back for the weigh-in. But obviously it's a bit of a drive from Ray Roberts to Fort Worth. So like I said, I'm not sure if I'll be able to make the first 2 days of weigh-in, but I'll be there for the one that counts for sure.
There you go. I heard a rumor. Is it true that they're going to do something like bring in the best looking fish and not weigh all 5? I don't know. I heard something because the travel was so long, like you were saying. I heard some crazy rumors. Can you lock any of those in or out?
I don't really know what the current status of the truth to that is. So I don't.
We're gonna do like a weigh-in at the dock, and then bring like the best of the best 2 or best 3 back to show everyone.
Sure, and that's definitely something that's been discussed. Like I said, just for my sake, I don't want to say anything as to what's on, because frankly, I'll be 100% honest. I'm not sure that it's dead set in stone as to what they'll do, but they're definitely going through all the possibilities to make sure the fish are in good hands and they're taken care of the best way possible.
Because it's gonna be hot. It's June. It's Texas. And I don't know. I know in Texas, I always heard. I've never been, but I heard, hot during the day, and then it's some cool Texas nights.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Texas growing up, especially DFW area. Had, relatives live there. A lot of my friends from college live there. I'm actually a huge Texas Rangers fan, baseball. So I go to a lot of Rangers games every summer. Not so much now because I live in Alabama, but that is true. I think one thing that will be a huge benefit for us, and it's just lucky, is the fact that it's been kind of more of an extended spring. So,
yes,
even, the last few tournaments, you've seen spawning fish and fish that are still in, springtime mode, come to play. And talking to some people and kind of doing some research, I think that, the water temperature is not nearly as hot as it could have been. Excuse me. And typically, obviously, that's what does the fish care.
Right.
It makes that a little tricky. But like I said, I think we've kind of benefited from the fact that this has been a extended spring and, the cold winter that they had in Texas. I think taking care of the fish will be easier than it could have been for sure. By this time of the summer, a lot of times you get, like you were saying, really, really, really hot days. But like I said, I think we're getting lucky with the weather.
That's awesome. Yeah, even up here, guys, it's been, I think the other morning is like 43 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, good gosh, it's May. What the heck?
No kidding. At that Gunnersville tournament, every morning it was sub 55, for here, which is pretty dang chilly. I didn't expect to be wearing a sweatshirt every single morning, but I wore a sweatshirt for most of the day on a few of the days. So like you said, it's definitely been chilly. And like I said, for the sake of fish care, I think we're getting lucky as far as that goes, because it could be much more severe than I think it will be.
All right, so today, guys, I sat there at work, and the latest episode of Bassmaster magazine came in yesterday, and I read the whole article by Mr. Steve Price on Unlock the Lake. Did you have a chance to read that?
Not yet. Like I said, I do so much with the
I know you do. I know you do.
The website that I don't get a chance to read the magazine as much as I used to, actually. But I did read the story that Craig Lamb wrote on the website, and it was more or less kind of a lay of the lake.
There you go. So from what I read, ain't a whole lot of fish, but there's a lot of big ones in this thing. Lots of big ones.
That's the way I understand it. So one of our fantasy fishing writers, and I guess to kind of tack on to what I do for bass, fantasy fishing is a big part of my job, helping run the website, creating content, managing content for the website, the fantasy fishing website.
Yes.
And one of our writers, Coy Greathouse, he actually is from DFW area. Here until just recently, lived in Denton, which is, right down the road from Ray Roberts. I mean, more or less right at Ray Roberts.
Right.
And that's kind of the story he told, was the fact that the population of fish there is not outstanding for how big of a fishery it is. But like you said, it's definitely got some big ones. And, if you do any research at all, you can definitely find that there are some big fish in Ray Roberts.
Let's talk about big fish right here. The lake record largemouth is 15 pounds, 15.8, and the smallmouth is 6.42.
That's a big one. That's a really big smallmouth for Texas.
That's huge.
There's only a handful of lakes in Texas that even have smallmouth, but I don't think we'll see that play a whole lot. No. That's my opinion. I don't know what the population even is, but I definitely have read some articles and different things about smallmouth in Ray Roberts, which is, like I said, just crazy to me, because you think about how hot it gets on those lakes. I mean, it's crazy to even have any population of smallmouth in those lakes, really.
All right, so the event itself, I mean, the article I was reading, they were talking about what did they think it's going to take. They were looking at 30 pounds on day 2. And as always, the weights always go down. And then maybe that as less pressure on the lake, the anglers start, what do you think it's going to take, man?
So going back to fantasy fishing, my 3-day total right now to win the classic, I've got like mid 60s.
Okay.
60, I think I said like 63.10. I mean, just kind of a random estimate. At first, my estimate was lower than that. I thought maybe 57 and change, high 50s. But I think over the course of 3 days, I mean, I think that somebody, and this is not just purely my opinion, this is kind of what I've read, and taking it from some of the competitors and what they're saying, is that it's not that somebody will catch 20 pounds each day. But you might see like Hank Cherry last year catching 29 pounds on the first day. Somebody busts them up really good one day, that elevates them pretty high above the rest of the competition. And, if you can back that up with 15 to 20 pounds a day after that, I mean, like I said, I think you get into the mid 60s pretty easily. especially if somebody catches nearly 30 pounds one day and then backs it up with a 20. I mean, you're already almost all the way there in 2 days. So yeah, I mean, I think that if somebody is able to get on a consistent pattern and catch a more consistent weight each day, they'll be right there on the last day. But like we're saying, that one big day, typically in the Classic being a 3-day tournament, really goes a long ways.
All right, the lake itself. What's some of the chatter that you've been hearing, man, about the lake? What from people that you might have talked to or something like it? Not less necessarily the pro anglers, but just some local anglers or anything. How has the lake been fishing?
So, as far as how it's been fishing, I haven't really heard a whole lot of reports as far as that goes.
Okay.
Going back to Coy Greathouse's story, and I'm referencing him because he's probably my best person to reference, somebody that I know pretty well now. And as of right now, the lake is 3 foot high.
Okay.
So what has got me in kind of a limbo is the fact that this time of year in Texas, you would almost automatically assume is going to be a deep fishing, deep crankbaits, not necessarily like ledge fishing like you'd see on the Tennessee River, but deep offshore structure fishing, right? So
right.
I thought, ever since the date got moved to June, I thought without a doubt that's going to be the main player. And still in my head, I think that will probably be what's going to prevail. It'll be the most consistent. But with the high water, I mean, what you see on, Ray Roberts, based on what Coy was saying, and also really most lakes in the South, with that rising water, I mean, you see a lot of fish go to the bank. I mean, a lot of the forward go to the bank, shad, bluegill, and I'm sure there's a bluegill spawn going on. I've heard people talk about a shad spawn. I don't know how much that'll play, just, based on the fact that it obviously does get warmer in Texas a lot quicker than it does, certain parts of the country. But, I think that shallow will probably play more than even I expected it to.
Oh, wow.
I'm a shallow water guy. So naturally I'm all for that. But like I said, I've been sitting here telling everybody for months and months that I think it'll inevitably be won by, one of the deep water fishermen, the guys that are clearly good offshore structure fishermen. But like I said, I think that water level, with the possibility of some thunderstorms coming in, from what I understand, could definitely make the shallow water fishing more of a player than I thought it would have been. So that's kind of the vibe I've been getting from people. Like I said, if I was a betting man, I would still say it'll be 1 out deep, just for the sake of consistency. But I think we'll see some big bags get caught shallow as well.
They say, the article that I read said there's not a lot of docks on this lake, that there's a whole lot of trees, laydowns, stumps, et cetera, and the grass. How much do you think that would play into this?
I think that's going to be a big part of the shallow game, without a doubt. Okay. So like, it's hard to explain, but like those lakes, and I'm not coming from an expertise standpoint of fishing those lakes, but just compare it to somewhere like Fork. Obviously, it doesn't have maybe the quality of fish Fork has, but it also is similar in a lot of ways, with the standing timber and the way those fish set up. Those fish want to live deep. I believe this time of year. And for the shallow water guys and the guys that end up making that decision, I think, like you said, standing timber will definitely play, just because it seems like you can't get away from it that much.
No.
So like, regardless where you're fishing, standing timber will be a part of it. Yes. How much of a part, that's, the fish can say that, not me. But, like you said, the shallow grass, shallow shoreline cover, especially with the water coming up. I mean, it doesn't matter how barren the bank is, once the water comes up, more targets are going to be available. So like you said, I think the grass will play a big role. From what I understand, there's some submerged grass and emergent grass. I mean, grass that you can visibly see, like you'd see on, the Coosa River, any kind of shoreline grass. I think the guys fishing shallow will definitely be targeting that. But like I said, it's hard to believe there won't be a lot of fish setting up off the bank, even on like secondary stuff, not necessarily super deep, but that kind of in between range, like secondary points, wind blown stuff. Like I said, I think with the water coming up and, the water level as it is, it'll make it more well-rounded versus like everybody doing the same thing, which I'm personally a huge fan of. I think, as the more diversity you can get in a tournament, I mean, the more entertaining it is. And I think that it's really possible that that's going to be the way this tournament sets up.
Do you, Kyle Jessie, believe that you can get to the final day by fishing shallow?
I think somebody will.
Okay.
I definitely do. And the reason I say that is when I was writing my story for Fantasy Fishing this go around, if you just look at the roster fishing this classic,
yes,
there's 20 of the best shallow water fishermen in the world fishing this tournament.
Yes.
So it's almost impossible to believe for me that you get that many really good shallow water fishermen, and somebody doesn't make it fishing shallow. You know, somebody will definitely make the last day without a doubt. I mean, I think there'll be several make the last day.
Okay.
As far as making like the top 10, like I said, I think it's so hard to say this far in advance, but I'd think there'd be at least a couple guys fishing in the top 10, that fish shallow, if not more.
All right, Kyle, here's the next question for you. If Kyle Jessie was fishing the Bassmaster Classic, what would you do?
First off, I thank the good Lord above, because it'd be a miracle that I was fishing the Classic. With that being said, I mean, in tournaments like these, I think kind of the best strategy to have.
It's all or nothing, though.
It really is. It really is. Obviously, points don't matter.
Points don't matter. I mean,
you
we're just
hear that there's so many, commonly said things in the Classic that just get absolutely just thrown around, like, points don't matter. You're not fishing for points, things like that. And it's true. But I think you'd have to mix it in, just purely based on the fact that with changing conditions, if you get too locked into one thing, it seems like you might end up in a bad place. And that's the reality of it is these guys are so good that they'll look at all options in practice. But I think there'll be some guys that spend so much time deep in graphing that, it might end up biting them, because if there's a good shallow water bite in the morning, or if there's different options rather than just sticking deep, I think some guys will miss it. And I think some guys would be okay with that, because, if they put all their eggs in the deep fishing basket per se, then, good odds that they'll have a good chance to win the tournament. If I was fishing the tournament, I would probably do a little bit of both.
Okay.
I can't even sit here and lie to the camera and say that I wouldn't fish shallow, because I definitely would. That's just kind of my nature and how I like to fish. But like I said, I would, without a doubt, have to have some deep spots, especially later in the afternoon, maybe when the, when the shallow bite gets tougher, I think you got to have something to fall back on for sure. So for me, I would fish probably a little bit of both, but say like 60 shallow, 40 deep.
All right, there you go. There you go. I know for me, it'd be some drop shot, and
sure,
water's getting warm. That's what I love to do. So throwing a little wacky and some brush hogs up in the grass, and drop shotting out in deep. And I know a lot of them talked about doing a lot of cranking.
Sure.
So it's gonna be a big mix and pattern. So guys, we are talking to Mr. Kyle Jessie, digital editor at Bassmaster magazine. All right, let's get into the anglers themselves. What have you been hearing, man? Have you been hearing any good chatter that you can tell the Basscast listeners, or?
Not really, purely based on the fact that obviously official practice hasn't started. So
that's true. That's true.
They haven't been out there. Also, a lot of guys did pre-practice.
Yes.
Naturally, nobody's going to be talking about that. Whatever you find in practice and or pre-practice, these guys are pretty sneaky. They're not going to go out and say a whole lot. Like I said, the only thing I can say from just hearing guys talk about the tournament, and the only reason they would think this is if they were hearing something to make you believe this, is everybody's weight predictions that I'm hearing from the pros themselves has been way higher than I would have thought.
Oh, wow.
I said, and that's why I changed my weight prediction up a little bit, because originally I thought, high teens, mid to high teens a day would probably win.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've heard a handful of guys that I really do, trust their opinion and value their opinion, that have said, like I said, like over 20 pounds a day will win.
Holy cow.
Like I said, that's about all I can say is they're pretty optimistic, which if you're around this bunch at all, they typically downplay it. And for them to be up playing it a little bit, like I said, to me, says quite a bit about maybe what they're hearing. Like I said, nobody has specifically told me
All right.
any good reports, but like I said, it should be pretty good.
All right. If you could pick 3 anglers that you think would have the best chance of winning this classic and why.
Okay. So
Start off number 1.
Okay, so in chronological order, I guess, like from who I think would do the best to worst, Stetson Blaylock's my number 1 guy for this
That's
tournament.
awesome.
Stetson Blaylock, being an Arkansan, actually lives just up the road from where I grew up. Brandon Lester, number 2. And then we'll just throw a different name out there. Let's see. Thinking of a shallow water guy. I mean, it's hard to say root against Matt Herron. Matt Herron won the Toyota Texas Bass or the TTBC in 2016, which is really the most recent, tour level type event that's been on Ray Roberts. Especially for some of the guys that have fished this tournament or that are fishing this tournament. Obviously, got to have a certain comfortability level there. It's hard to root against somebody that's won a big event on this lake. Granted, it was in May. It was in middle of May. So do I think it'll be the exact same? Obviously not.
No.
However, like I said, if shallow water plays, you take a guy that's already figured out how to do that on this lake. And like I said, I think you give Matt Herron a head start because he's obviously got a pretty good feel for the lake as it is. And Matt Herron is a hammer himself. So like I said, we'll go 2 that I think will fish deep, and then I think 1 that'll factor in shallow.
All right. You guys all heard Kyle does the fantasy fishing, does a lot of work with that. We've got an amazing guys. Thank you, everyone. If any of you guys listen to the podcast of Play Fantasy Fishing with the basscast.com. Kyle, did I tell you? I think I did tell you last time we did. We had like 150, almost 200 people playing fantasy fishing with the Basscast a year ago.
That is awesome.
We were the number 1. We were the number 1 private group at Bass.
Wow. Very nice.
Yes. That was pretty awesome. This year dropped off a little bit. I had to do it all, but it is what it is. But talk to us about fantasy fishing, man. I mean, that's a huge thing these days. I mean, a lot of payouts. You guys have that new game you introduced this year where I think when you pick so many anglers and then those anglers drop off, and then by the end of the year, you're down to whatever. I've seen the commercial. Everybody's seen the commercial for it, but that's pretty strategic.
Everybody's had to listen to Ronnie Moore on that commercial like 1,000 times. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired of it.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. But fantasy fishing is awesome. So, and this is not just coming from me because I have a pretty big role in fantasy fishing, but I've been playing fantasy fishing since I was definitely in high school, but I've been like probably a junior or sophomore in high school, and I'm 25 now. So I've been playing for a good while. It's just like any other fantasy sport. So I'm sure people can relate to this. So I follow NFL and, pro sports quite a bit, but when you add in a fantasy aspect of it, when you're that much more in tune to what's going on.
Oh yes.
It makes you care that much more. And naturally as a fishing fan, I'm going to watch the tournament no matter what, doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing. But with that being said, if it, it keeps you engaged that much more to me. When you've got your 5 anglers in traditional fantasy fishing or your 8 anglers in Mercury Drain the Lake, it keeps you engaged that much more to how those guys are doing. And it just makes you follow it more, which, like I said, I love because it gives you something to follow along with on top of the tournament. And, like you said, to mention on the new format. So it's just an additional format to what Rapala fantasy fishing is. And it's a suicide. Well, it's a suicide pool game, but we're not using that word. It's an eliminator pool is what they've called on the commercial and everything. So you pick 8 anglers per tournament, but after you pick that angler for a specific event, you can't use them the rest of the season. So obviously there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. Trying to map out who you want for which event. So I'll tell a story here. The very first tournament, the guy that won, if you looked at his roster, he's going to be having a hard time the rest of the year because he picked, a lot of heavy hitters right off the bat. He had like Polinick, Fighter, Walters. It was just like basically as stacked of an 8-person lineup as you can have. But the more you stack each lineup, obviously the more difficult it gets later in the season because you can't reuse those guys. Obviously the Classic will be different because there's a handful of guys fishing the Classic that aren't fishing the rest of the elites. So it gives you some extra options for the Classic. I can say for myself, I mean, I've got like Cody Bird, Keith Carson.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear, everybody.
A couple of the guys that aren't fishing the rest of the elite season, just because it saves you an Elite Series pick for the rest of the year. And frankly, there's a handful of the guys fishing the Classic this year that I think have a really good job or a really good chance of doing well. So yeah, I mean, in closing with fantasy fishing, I mean, it's just something to like I said, keep you more engaged, and I think everybody enjoys the heck out of it. I know I do. Obviously, seeing fans' feedback on everything, I mean, it makes it really rewarding because you know how much everybody enjoys to play it. And like I said, the additional format this year, I think that'll continue to take off, and people will latch onto that just like they have Rapala, Bassmaster fishing or fantasy fishing.
Yeah, I get behind on it. So this is bad when like I was at a tournament a couple weeks ago, and we've had a guy win 3 events.
Wow.
Yeah, he's won 3 events, and right now he's leading. He's kicking everybody's butt.
Sure.
But he calls me out and goes, "Brian, you haven't made your picks in 2 events, Brian."
Holy cow.
I mean, I'm covering websites. I mean, I'm podcasting. I'm doing everything else. I mean, this is for you guys, and that's all reason why I do it. I just have to put my name in there so you guys can play. That's about it.
Right.
But I just do it for you guys. I try to keep up. Don't get me wrong. I try to play and try to remember to play, but heck, I have to remember on Mondays to go back and check, say who won.
Right.
So, all right, you brought up Seth Feider a little while ago, man. You think he's got a chance at winning this AOY?
I think he's got better than a chance.
I think he does too.
I think his odds of winning AOY, even as little as he wants to talk about it and bring it up, I don't think anybody's ever had as good of a chance to win with 2 events left.
I know.
Obviously, some seasons, Aaron Martin's when he won a few years back. I mean, there have been some really dominant seasons without a doubt. This one being where he's at right now, how consistent he's been, and then tack on the fact that the final 2 events are on northern smallmouth fisheries. I mean, it's just hard to imagine him bombing either of those 2 tournaments. And, having such a good lead going into those tournaments, I think he's, you don't ever want to call anybody a lock because anything could happen.
Yes.
I mean, literally anything. But yeah, like I said, as far as his season goes, it's been incredibly impressive to watch. And, I think it'll definitely go down as one of the best seasons in Bassmaster Elite Series history as far as points go.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Mr. Seth Feider here. We've done a lot of podcasts with him, had him on the show many times, and he's an awesome, wild, crazy dude.
He is one of a kind, and
yes,
he is exactly who he acts to be, if that makes sense. He's just that cool cat all the time, and obviously you can appreciate that, knowing that somebody's super genuine and sometimes comes off as a little raw, but I think that's why the fans love him so much.
Will he ever cut the hair? That's the question. I don't think it'll ever happen, but
I just don't think he can. I mean, I think that's part of his identity, and I just think that's part of who he is. I don't think you could even justify cutting it at this point.
All right. Before we wrap up, before we roll out, have you made your fantasy picks yet?
I have. Ronnie Moore and I actually do a podcast every week previewing the
right.
tournament, and we're actually going to do that tomorrow. So let me pull it up here. I can tell you my picks.
All right, here we go.
Can you still see me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me pull. I've actually got it on my computer. I'm just going to look at it on here. All right. So we'll start with my Drain the Lake picks. So obviously that's 8 picks. So right now I've got Keith Carson, Buddy Gross, John Cox, Kyle Welcher, Chris Saldane, Patrick Walters, Cody Bird, and Brandon Card. That's almost a 50-50 split of guys that I think will fish shallow and fish deep. Like I said, I'm so hesitant to lean one way or the other as far as shallow or deep. So my Drain the Lake roster, I'm going basically split 50-50.
That's awesome.
So as far as traditional Rapala Bassmaster fantasy fishing, got Bucket A, Stetson Blaylock, Bucket B, Brandon Lester, You know, I'm not lying because those are two of the ones that I just told you.
Yes.
Micah Frazier in bucket C, Todd Otten in bucket D, and Keith Carson in bucket E.
There you go.
That's my roster. If you paid attention to my results last week, you may not want to pay attention to my picks. But the rest of the season's been pretty solid. But last tournament at Guntersville was tricky for a lot of people. It was that was a tricky one to pick a fantasy fishing team for.
Jesse, man, thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking to us. We want to get you on early because I know next week you're going to be busy and crazy and writing. And like you said, he is the digital editor for Bassmaster. So you guys can head on over. I haven't seen a whole lot of Bassmaster content up yet. And I don't really know what I've seen one or two stories, but that's really about it. It had the list of the anglers, but I was waiting to see.
Every day we've been posting, a handful of new things. So today, just looking at the website, let me pull it up.
Let's see here.
This is the computer screen I look at all day, every day on Bassmaster.com. So I should know exactly what's up. So the first piece we wrote, it's just a Caleb Kufall daily limit about his win. Then we've got a photo gallery, 10 things you don't know about the Classic. One update on Buddy Gross. I don't know if you've heard or not, but he actually hurt his ankle.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that on Instagram. Yes.
That's one thing. We actually have a video series, not a series, but a video posted today about the friendship between John Cox and Keith Carson. I would highly recommend anybody to go watch that. It's super, super entertaining. It's really funny. Then The Science of Ray Roberts, which is that Craig Lamb piece that I spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
And then Take a Tour of Fort Worth, kind of gives you a good idea of, certain things to do in Fort Worth. So there's definitely every single day we'll have more content rolling.
There you go.
In. Like I said, it's a lot of content and very little time to post it. So you can definitely count on there being a lot of fantasy fishing or not fantasy fishing, but Bassmaster Classic content. That is for sure.
Yeah, there's a whole lot we could talk about. I mean, we really could. I mean, I gotta cut this short. People will get bored, but John Cox, can he hold up for the rest of the year? I mean, he is killing himself. I hate to say it. I mean, he's like, it's like I couldn't do it. There's no way.
I was actually having that conversation with one of my best friends, Bo Browning. It's actually Stephen Browning's son. He fishes in college, and he and I are fishing partners in Arkansas. And we were talking about that today. Is just how insane his schedule is. Granted, like we knew it was going to be like that from the beginning of the season. He knew it was going to be like that, but I don't think you can really quite understand what that travel, is like. I mean, the amount of tournaments that he's basically left and had zero practice or very little practice, then fish another derby right afterwards. I mean, it's insane. If there's anybody that can do it, I'm sure it's John Cox. And like you said, I think he's holding up okay right now. And, I think I'm sure he's making the most of all the breaks that he gets.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he'll be rejuvenated and be ready for this tournament. Hopefully, I imagine he'll be fishing at Chickamauga prior to this event, but it's John Cox. You can never count him out, regardless if he has a day of practice or not.
He's a wild dude. He's a great guy. Awesome guy. Absolutely. Not taking anything away from him, but I tell you one thing, I'd have to have a driver.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
it would be like someone would be driving. I'd fish and someone else would drive me because I'd be sleeping.
No kidding. That's literally the same exact conversation Bo and I had today was just the fact that like take, fishing a 2-day tournament, which most weekend guys can appreciate that. Most weekend guys don't fish, 4-day tournaments, but just take you after the second day of a weekend series. And then right after that tournament's done, go drive 12 hours to somewhere, go drive, however long, 8 to 12 hours across the country right afterwards. Like you said, you almost have to have somebody help you drive. And I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he definitely has some help on that end.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I couldn't do it. I definitely couldn't.
No way.
I'm even younger than he is, and I don't think I could manage that.
He's younger than me. Holy cow. Yeah, it's crazy. Even after the Classic, it's like, we get down our media day, then stay for the whole event, drive back home. I'm whooped. And I'm 47. But I'm like, I need another day just to sleep.
No doubt. Yeah, it's exhausting. I mean, really, any tournament.
People don't think about it, but holy cow.
Yeah, it really is exhausting. I mean, I can speak on the behalf of just covering an Elite Series tournament. Like you said, I mean, you get there the day before, get a little bit of practice content some way or another, and then 4 days of covering the tournament, and then obviously fishing the tournament's just as bad. Actually,
Yeah.
probably definitely worse. I'm definitely not going to take away from what they do because it's more exhausting than what we do. But yeah, I mean, just from the coverage standpoint, if you wanted me to cover a tournament for 5 days and then up and drive, somewhere else and cover the next tournament, in the timing that he fishes tournaments, John Cox, that is, I couldn't even do that. That'd be too tough. And then you imagine, like we're saying, he fishes all those events and then, up and leaves and goes to the next one. So much respect to him being able to do that. But like you said, it's I'm sure by the end of the year, it'll definitely take a toll on him.
I'm blessed. I have a driver.
Yeah.
I haven't driven to a Bassmaster Classic yet.
Very nice.
Because, yeah, it would definitely take a toll on me. Well, brother, man, Kyle, thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking with us tonight. Thank you for getting us up to date on the Bassmaster Classic. Guys, next week, man.
I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you having me on. And, like I've always told you, anytime you ever want me to come talk some fishing, I'm always up for that without a doubt. And like I said, I really appreciate you having me on.
Maybe we'll see if we can get something worked out for next week. I don't want to take nothing away because you're a busy freaking man. So
I'll be at the hotel each night. So, assuming having good enough Wi-Fi, if you want to,
we'll do something. Yes. We'll
do some talking before the tournament starts. We can most certainly do it.
All right, brother. Have a great night. And thank you for everything.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Guys, man, we want to thank Mr. Kyle Jessie for coming on talking with us tonight. Bassmaster Classic. I know we're excited right here at the basscast.com. Kind of stinks we're not going this year, but it is Texas, and we are a low budget website. I'm not gonna lie, we work our butts off here, but we're kind of like some other people, low budget bass, low budget website. I mean, we work our ass off here to bring you guys some great content as well as great interviews and podcast. But as we're talking about that, got to thank some sponsors: Angler's Choice, Dick's Sporting Goods, Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range, Battleborn Batteries, Wild Wear America, Conrad Brothers Marine, Missile Baits, and Lisa Lindsay, Associate Broker with Long and Foster down in South Boston, Virginia. You guys can reach her at 434-572-2645. Here it is, guys, right here. Thank you to all of those awesome sponsors who make this thing roll and continue. Guys, we miss Bass Geek tonight. Definitely miss him, but I know he's having a great time hanging out with family and friends. I did that a little bit Monday afternoon. Actually, Monday I was tired, so I can't say anything. Guys, before we leave, make sure you check out the YouTube version. Something new we started this in the last week or last month or two. I have internet finally, thank you, Jesus. But check that out. And check out outdoorobsessionsradio.com. That's where you can see Way of Fishing podcast, Backstage Fishing, where we break down tournaments and talk about past events right here in Central Virginia. And if you want to listen to this podcast, just hit the update button. I want to show you guys right here. Apple. This is a Castbox, iHeart, Google Podcast, Deezer, Spotify, and Spreaker. That's where all the podcasts are being stored. You guys can go and check them all out. If you just want to listen to the audio version while you're traveling down the road from event to event, we'd love to have you guys listen. And again, guys, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who watched and listened tonight. Really appreciate all the great sponsors. Can't wait to have Bass Geek on next week. There's a BFL championship happening in the next couple of days. So we hope to get maybe a local angler on, as well as maybe the winner himself. So check it out, majorleaguefishing.com, BFL championship. Excited. Lots of more great fishing. And you guys enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be talking to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to Basscast Radio, the best in local and national bass fishing news. To listen to more episodes, check us out on all the podcasting networks. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, thebasscast.com, and Basscast News.